TTYL for talk to you later. 10Q, I didn't know that one, for thank you. All this texting shorthand helps us communicate faster, but are we losing something in the process? Like, for example, the ability to spell common words. A couple of self-proclaimed word nerds think that's very possible. Authors John Schweitz and Patrick Hawkins are on a mission to help, but in a fun way, not in a lecture-y way. And actually, we were just talking in the break, sir. I met you years ago on a story about how you are Santa at your house and you have a hard time saying no to your kids.
Let's not talk about that. My kids
Welcome back. Same problem at the house?
We have problems.
Okay. We all do. We all do. And one of the big problems that we have is now with kids that really, truly don't know how to spell and misuse a lot of words. But why did this become an issue for you, so much so that you wanted to write a book?
Well, as we talked earlier, John and I have known each other for about 20 years or so we've had a lot of time to think and think about these examples. But about 10 years ago, we started sharing many of these examples with each other, whether they were written forms of communication or something we heard in a meeting. We even shared photographs, so we would, take our cell phones, take a photo of an advertisement somewhere on a building, and just have a lot of fun. Then we realized that there are so many examples, and the problem seems to be getting even worse, that we could write a book about it. And not a dictionary-style book, but a book to have fun and an effective way to learn.
Irregardless ain't a word is the title of the book. That's obviously one of your biggest pet peeves. That's why
one
it
of those
became the
words
title.
that really gets your attention.
What other examples can you give me that are really common that people might not even realize they're mistakes?
Well, what's interesting about the book is that there are common mistakes that are in there. The theirs, twos. But then words like compliment with an I, compliment with an E, stationary with an I, stationary with an E and stationary with an A. And, people are making these mistakes at very inopportune times. They're making
For example, when they're applying for jobs.
Applying for jobs on resumes and business communications, and it really undermines the credibility of both the person making the mistake and their company.
And these are adults that we're generally talking about, adults and professional adults, not children.
And I think people maybe underestimate the impact that has when you say a word, for example, like across instead of across, or especially instead of especially. I know we're a couple examples. Can you speak to that at all? Because I think maybe especially the younger generation underestimates what kind of an impact that can have.
Well, I think part of the problem is, number one is maybe just a little bit of carelessness when you're writing an email, sending a letter, of using spell check as your friend when it always isn't your friend. It's not going to correct everything. Also, I equate it to a driver's ed class where you learn how to stop at a stop sign, but they don't tell you to not drive in the left lane if you're not passing traffic. Much like supposedly is a word with a D, but supposedly, did they ever tell you that that's not a word? Or supposedly, it's not a word, so don't use it.
All right, well, it's a very fun book. We should say that. If it sounds like a lecture, it's not. And really great advice in here. And I think some people will be surprised when they read it at maybe some words they've been using that aren't actually words at all.
The book was written for kids, and we found that the adults are enjoying it just as much. And
great Christmas present.
Yeah, they fit perfectly in a stocking.
Fantastic. It's called Irregardless Ain't a Word. Lots of good lessons in here for all of us.
Online at irregardlessbook.com.
All right. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Merry Christmas. We'll be right back.